Hello, everybody,
We are recording the stuff and the things
and the things.
and stuff.
Happy Memorial Day weekend, everybody. For those who are in the military, thank you for your service. And for those who have passed away, obviously, we definitely always remember those guys on Memorial Day and
Yeah.
women, guys and
Thank
women
you for
both.
your sacrifice so we can live to
Yeah,
enjoy the somewhat freedoms we have now. But seriously, thank you for your sacrifice.
exactly. And so I always think about Memorial Day. It's kind of a big day for me because my dad was a vet. So I'm always just like, yep, which is why today, Crystal, we are having a lighthearted episode.
Yep, that and let's be honest, you and I need a break from
We
reality
do.
because we've been paying attention to the stuff going on in our
Yeah,
government. And this is why your political episode will come next week. We need a break.
yeah. We need some lightheartedness. So we have a few topics we're gonna talk about today. One of those is I'm gonna do I don't care. Where in the world is Carmen San Diego? Okay, I had to
It's
because the
fine. Where
first
the hell is Carmen?
I
She
don't
has
know.
abandoned us. She's supposed to be stealing stuff and
I
making the world
know.
worry. But when's the last time she stole something, huh?
Nothing. She's been gone. She retired and didn't
And
tell
I'm not
anybody.
counting that Netflix reboot Carmen. I mean OG
I
Carmen.
know. I OG Carmen. And if you don't know about the Carmen San Diego Where the World TV series, for those of you who are Gen Z and younger, please look it up. It's hilarious. It's wonderful. And it's kind of fitting for our first story today. Because today we have a mystery for my booktubers, book talkers, bookstagrammers, all of you guys. We have a mystery for you.
A big old mystery.
A
Bigger than
big one.
Carmen San
Juicy.
Diego.
And so I will say, first of all, I love Sherlock Holmes. I am an old school girly. I love Agatha Christie, Sherlock Holmes. I've probably read most of those books by both
Well,
those authors.
yeah, because they are awesome.
They are awesome. So when I say I love a good mystery, I do. I go for the older mysteries, but I like some of the newer ones, some of the thrillers. But today we have a mystery on our hands.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I
So
know what it is, but still, ooh.
ooh, I know, right? Like we know what it is, but ooh. So we are talking about Dani Francis and him, her, or they, their book, Silver Elite, because we don't know. We don't know who Dani Francis is.
Yep,
And
adding in the image of Silver Elite right now.
exactly. And before we start, I'll just address to my book talk Instagram booktuber girlies who are very on there's a couple of camps on this mystery, right? There's three or four camps on this. And one of those camps I want to start off addressing first, and then we'll get to the other two.
Let's
For the
go.
camp, yeah, for the camp of people, they're like, oh, leave them alone, don't search them out. They deserve to have their mystery. And you know what? I am a firm believer in everything you're saying. Like I have a pen name. This is not my real name. Crystal's pen name, obviously also not her real name. So I fully support. Dani Francis don't want to tell nobody her name, dude, her, him, they don't have to. You do you. You do you.
Yeah, I
But
mean, we haven't even told
I
each other our real names, and we're cool.
right, we're cool beans. And they're kind of doing the witness protection run where they're not showing their face or showing their or saying anything publicly. So they're going kind of the full route there. And hey, you know what? They have found the ticket to sell their book a million times over. Good for them. So to that camp who is very anti let's talk about this, I don't necessarily I agree with you. You know what? If an author takes a pen name, you are right. They deserve to have their privacy. I don't necessarily I don't really care if people know my real name, but I am not putting it the F out there. And so you know what?
Understandably, because when your books make it big, everybody's going to be calling you.
I hope they make it big. Anyway, so it's just I understand that concern. So I wanted to address that camp first because I want you to understand that we're doing this as a very lighthearted, fun. Who is it? Who done it? We don't know, and just kind of have a chit chat about it. So that way, before everybody jumps on the oh my god, you're both authors who have pen names how could you? Look, this is a fun mystery to me. I love this shit. I think,
Yeah.
first of all, I think, mind you, there is the concern that this might be a problematic author. And if it
Yeah.
is, then we will have that discussion later. But
Oh,
until
if
we
it's a
know,
problematic author, we will bring the torches and the pitchforks when the time
yeah.
comes. But so far, I'm not
But
seeing a problem. So
no, you know what? I enjoy the mystery of this. I think they did to whoever Dani Francis is. He, him, her, they, she did a very good job in marketing this book and putting it out there and keeping their mystery about them. And you know what? That's really hard. In an online world, it is very hard to have some mystery because
yeah,
some part of marketing your book is you have to kind of give pieces of yourself away, right? You have to
yep,
market your face, your voice, your personality. You got to put that out there. So like
yeah. And
even
people
people
don't have my
watching,
full face, but I know they want the face to market.
right? But like, so like us doing this podcast, like, yeah, right now we don't have a setup where we can be in person, and sooner or later we will someday. But
Well, that
right now
means
it's
when we
just
meet in the same state, and that's going to be a
right.
hot minute. We're not even the same
or
state, people.
or we could at least get to the point where maybe we have a better setup where we have like cameras and this, that, and the other. But like even then, it's right now we're just voices. So if you're watching this and you're not, well, by the way, hi to all of our friends who have watched this. We love and adore
Yes,
you.
hello, we
Uh,
love you guys.
Mwah. But for all the people who aren't our friends who are watching this, there is some mystery here too, right? Like, who are these two chicks?
Yeah.
Like, who are
And we
they?
love
They're
you
authors.
too. We love
We
everybody who
we love
tunes into our
everybody,
podcast and enjoys our zaniness.
right? So it's just like there's obviously some mystery here too. But Dani Francis, man, let's talk. They have done such a good job. Like, I kid you not. I went so. By the way, to start this off, Dani Francis wrote this book, Silver Elite. And when it came out, it was marketed as a spicy Hunger Games. That was basically the kind of tagline given to it. Good job on the tagline, by the way, because
Yeah, that
as
sounds
we know,
interesting.
Hunger Games is very up right now. I mean, Suzanne Collins just came out with her next book,
That
which
I
is
need to
obviously
read.
going, and I can't wait for the movie. I haven't really gotten into the books, but I fucking love the movies, let me tell you.
Well, I haven't read
Um,
the books with Snow, but the books are really good.
the books are really good. I mean, I think I want to say I read the first book years and years ago, but I don't remember it. So I haven't read any of the other books. But it's just very it's very up right now. Everybody wants to, they picked really good actors for the cast. The movies
True.
have fucking gone. I mean, I will be honest. The Hunger Games series, I fucking love those movies. Those are some of my favorite movies to watch on my downtime. I've probably rewatched them at least 10 times.
Yeah, to be honest, I
So
will say this about the Hunger Games, both the books and the series deserve the applause they get.
yeah,
I have not read the one about President Snow being young and all that yet.
yeah,
My mother
yeah.
actually has, and she was saying it was really good. The author who wrote those books, very good. The people who did the
Suzanne
movies,
Collins.
very good. Claps
Mm-hmm.
all around.
Right. So this was marketed as a spicy Hunger Games, a dystopian novel set in a world, and basically it's been very interesting. I will say it's had some mixed reviews. So when it came out, let me preface this by saying when it came out on Book Talk, a lot of people were like, it got a lot of hype because let me tell you, there is a profile on Book Talk. It has like 20 something videos. They're only following, I want to say 60 some people. And by the way, most of those are like, it's publishing houses, a few notable book talkers who are kind of very huge influencers. It's very I even took some pictures. They're only following 27 people. So when they got
Hmm.
Penguin House, Sloan Burn Books, they have some Jennifer Hudson show. They know who to follow, clearly.
Clearly, we must find this person and make friends with them.
Right. They have Pubbity. They have a few book talkers who are kind of well known. They have some people I haven't heard of, but again, we don't know everybody. Book Talk is a huge space. So it's
Yeah.
very much, I mean, in looking at their list, there's a few of the people I follow, but there's some new ones and there's some big publishing house type things. I find it interesting they follow the Jennifer Hudson show. That's one of
Hmm.
the few TV type shows they follow. So that's interesting.
Well, as
But
far as we know, they only follow the Jennifer Hudson still because we don't know who this person really is. For all we know,
right,
they could have another account under their real name and they
right.
follow other stuff.
And so I actually I just took a gander at their profile today because I was just curious about what kind of numbers they have. And I found that because they only had let's see, 27. They only had like 1,000, or was it 10,000 followers when I first checked. They have 12,000 likes now. They have
they are
2,000 followers, and they have 27, but still the 27 following. So they've gone up 2K in about a week, because it's been about a week since I checked their profile. And it's just, to me, it's just very interesting, because just the idea that this, like, and by the way, the videos on their TikTok have no voice, they have no face, and they're just there to, they advertise different pages, they show off the characters. And the two characters in the series, by the way, is Ren Darlington and Cross Redden, are kind of, those are the two that are, the main one is Ren, who's the main female character, and Cross is the love interest. And then you have some others, like, you have a lot of characters in there. And so it's supposed to be this dystopian book about this main character, Ren, who has psychic abilities, who's hiding her identity and aiding the rebel uprising. And she is the commanding officer of Cross Redden, and she's also trying to hide because she has these psychic abilities, and basically people with these psychic abilities are getting knocked off. So, yeah, right. So obviously the character's trying to hide out too. So like character, like author, I guess. So,
like mother, father, non-binary, whoever.
Right. Mother, father, whoever, right? So it's just very interesting. And so I will say there's been some mixed reviews, I should say, because like I said earlier, there's 3 camps. So the first camp obviously is the people who are like, why are you guys digging into this person? Look, first of all, I'd like to introduce you to Book Talk. We're all nosy bitches here. Yeah. I don't care, guy, girl, whatever. We're all nosy. And I want to say that's just, you have to be a curious person to be an avid book reader. And I don't think that's a huge statement of, like, I don't think that should be like a mystery in itself to anybody. To be on Book Talk, to be like a writer, reader, whatever, narrator, you have to be somebody who's just curious about the business, right? Like, you have to be curious about, like, as an author, right? A lot of us do a lot of research for our books. Like, I'm writing a dragon book. So, by the way, I will say I found a dragon anatomy picture, which I fucking love, and I'll be crediting that in my book. But that's the kind of things we do. Like, if I'm writing a dragon book, I'm going to look up fucking dragon anatomy.
Your friend into writing a dragon book, forcing her to remember she already put a dragon in one of her books, hasn't told her audience yet.
Look, clearly you needed more dragons. Anyways, so this book got mixed reviews because, and I will say, there is a very strong dystopian Book Talk crowd on Book Talk, and they had some mixed receipts. Some of them really liked this book. They didn't necessarily. I think I actually want to say a lot of them were in agreement. Of the reviewers I saw, and I watched several reviews. I watched a lot of reviews of this book.
I believe you.
I did. A lot of them were kind of like, okay, yes. I don't think any of them, there were a few people who were not happy with it, who said that it could have been maybe edited a little better. There might have been some few mistakes that got through. There was a few chit chats here and there about different things. Again, I haven't read it. I'm not going to do a judgment call on that.
Plus, in all fairness, people, all judgment calls will be done by me on my YouTube channel, Madam Crystal Butterfly, because as Mia knows, I'm a book reviewer, and I'm not a simple book reviewer. I get to the nitty gritty.
Yeah, I just review shit for shits and giggles when I do it. So Crystal's definitely the one who's going to go in depth on this. But a lot of people were just, I think the consensus was because it was marketed as this Hunger Games spicy romance. Yeah. And a lot of the dystopian people were kind of upset about it.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it probably created an expectation. Some people probably expected harder dystopian than what this book has.
And that's very much, because a lot of people basically said that it was dystopian light, because the whole part of dystopian, right, is that you have some kind of political fracas going on in the book. It doesn't matter if it's YA, it doesn't matter if it's adult. There's going to be some kind of political turmoil. And what a lot of people said is, okay, yes, there's definitely some shit going on. This character's definitely going through this year's stuff. By the way, this is supposed to be, I believe, either a three book series. I believe 3 or 5. Either 3 or 5.
Sure. I'm not sure. I got the audiobook recently, but it didn't really give me a whole lot of details how many books are in the series.
Hold on. So
We
I
are
had to look
back,
up something
people.
real quick because we're talking about how many books might be in the series, and it doesn't look like it's been confirmed by the author on how many books. It could be. It's definitely supposed to be more than one book, is what everybody seems to think, because it's definitely not supposed to be just a single novel alone by itself. So
Yeah.
there is the dystopian camp, and the dystopian camp, it seems to have this consensus from every single video I've watched that while some of them didn't like the book, some of them loved the book, but all of them kind of agreed that this whole marketing tag of it's Hunger Games but with spice was not correct. And that was kind of
Exactly.
the discussion around that. And I'm not going to get into, because a lot of people
Yeah.
had a lot to say. So we're not going to dig too deep.
Yeah, we're not going to find out till I read the book, which won't happen till after this podcast.
Yeah. So we're not going to dig too deep into that, but basically, it's about the fact that they said that there was politics, but all the reviewers seemed to agree that it wasn't it. You couldn't really tell what the politics were. Like, you understood that there's a government, there's a rebel group, but they didn't really dive deep. They kind of just focused on what the character was going through. And so I get that, of like, there wasn't, whereas in Hunger Games, I mean, if you look at Hunger Games, Suzanne Collins did a great job. I mean, she used a lot of heavy duty political stuff. She based her shit on real political issues that were going on when she wrote it. So like, and some of them are still going on right now, but again, book video, we won't go there.
Yeah. We'll complain about the Hunger Games later. Well, not complain at my end.
We'll talk about the U.S. Hunger Games later. So basically, it's the dystopian crowd. Basically, was kind of like they were either yay or nay on the book, but they all pretty much agreed across the board that it did not have the politics it needed. And point in fact, a lot of them were talking about how it wasn't like a lot of them. I saw a lot of people comparing it to like Fourth Wing, where it's not.
Really?
So it's more of a fantasy book with rebellion, and so people were more like, this is more a fantasy book with spice, so romanticy, than it is a dystopian love story.
That's
so that was kind
interesting.
of so that was kind of that consensus, and it's very interesting because there were
Yeah, especially since I still need to read Fourth Wing too.
Oh my goodness, you got you will. Okay, this is not a spoiler, people, but Dane is a bitch. I'm gonna say that. I don't care. Dane's a bitch. I'm sticking to it. Also, Rebecca Yarros, why he did not kill Dane in the first book, I'm still slightly upset about. So anyway.
Okay, we're gonna have a conversation when I finally finish this book.
Look. I have strong feelings about, and I'm about halfway through the second book, and I have actually wait, I think I'm closer to the end, but I have very strong feelings. Okay,
we'll talk about this when I finally read the book.
We'll talk about Dane. I got words about Dane.
Okay, clearly I'm gonna have some issues with this Dane character,
and you will, trust and believe. So, anyways, but then there was the camp of people that were basically like, you have the camp of people who didn't like the book. I don't know how else to say it. There was the camp on like the author mystery. There's the camp on the Hunger Games stuff. And then there was the camp that just was kind of upset with book talk in general. And they were talking about, how this got hyped up really fast. So by the way, congratulations, Dani Francis, on doing a really good marketing job, like fucking pro on that. And basically that it got hyped up by book talk, but they, there were some people who felt like it needed more editing, more review, a little bit more. But again, we're not gonna dig deep into that side. I'm not gonna
because
chit chat.
There are always critiques with every book, no matter what you do. No book is perfect.
Let's be real. On this topic of review, everybody can review a book and everybody can have an opinion. And you know what? How you feel about the book is entirely valid because you had the experience with it. Just like me sitting here, and I mean, I don't know that anybody would agree with me that Dane's a bitch, but you really should. But honestly, okay.
Let me read the book and let me decide whether or not this bitch is a bitch.
Look, but you can disagree, and that's fine because you read the book and you had that experience. So my thing is, when it comes to reviews, everybody has an opinion, and I think we all know how that statement goes. So I was more fascinated by the fact that this author, and let me tell you, I dug deep, people. I was trying to find out who this is, and there were some names.
She literally
was names who were floated
about this book. She was still trying to figure out where this person possibly could be, or
I know. I was curious. I'm nosy. Okay, I can't help it. So Dani Francis, like I checked Penguin Random House. That's who the publisher is. They had. So here's the bio of Dani Francis. So Dani Francis is an avid reader, a lover of all things breakfast, and a hopeless romantic. They actually have the she pronoun in theirs. What's funny is the agent did not. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So
We're getting closer. And also, Dani, if you like real bacon and not that fake turkey bacon, then we can be friends.
Crystal, I've heard turkey bacon is legitimate now, though.
It's not bacon.
Okay, look, we don't want to start a war of the bacon in our comments, but however, real bacon is real bacon. I mean, it has the hearts of the world. I mean, turkey bacon's just an up and comer fighting for their place.
Turkey bacon is for everybody with the sniffles saying they need to worry about their health.
Oh my god. Okay. Anyway, okay, that's clearly our views on bacon. So, Dani, so it said, when she is not creating high-stakes fantasy worlds and complex characters, you can find Dani spending time with family or trying to figure out why the printer never worked. So it says, have a question, send Dani an email, and she or her team will try to respond. By the way, people, yes, I did send an email.
Yes, she did
I don't think I'll get a response.
her.
I doubt I'll get a response, but
I'm going to email her later and see if I get a response if you don't.
I know, because I was like, I'm just really curious. So I basically said, hey, me and my author friend have a podcast. Yes, I did forget to say the name of the podcast, Crystal. I'm so sorry.
You know me, I've had time to think about that. And you know what? It's fine. I'll forgive you.
Whew. Off the hook. Perfect.
Maybe they'll be curious saying, what podcast?
Right. I did say, I at least had a podcast. I just didn't say as the pages turned. So I did forget the name, but I literally said, hey, we have a podcast and I love to do, the idea I had was 20 questions. You know how you sit down and you have the 20 questions game, like somebody thinks of a name and you ask 20 questions to narrow it down, right? So I was like, we could do a 20 questions game. And I said, you don't have to show your face. You don't have to share audio, but I'd love to like make a set of 20 questions to ask you to see if we could guess, because a lot of people have different guesses. There are some people, okay, there's some people who think it's Jennifer Armentrout, who's kind of famous for her, female characters who are, vulnerable, grit, all that good stuff. There are some people who think that it's another. So some people were going off the deep end. So they were going to the agency page. And I actually went to the agency page. By the way, the agency page didn't have a gender on there. So I found that kind of curious. Like, they're actually really trying for the mystery, whereas Penguin was like, oh, she. So I don't know. I mean, it could be a he. We don't know.
Penguin could be lying, trying to throw us off the
Penguin could be lying. They could be lying. Sorry, Penguin at Random House. We do love you. Please take our books. Anyways, let's not make Penguin mad, okay? This Penguin's really powerful. Let's not.
Yeah, let's not anger the Penguin. We may be indie authors, but they still have the ability to cancel us.
Right. So they have the she, the agency didn't. So they are represented by this author is represented.
How far are you willing to go to protect everything and everyone you love? Curse of the Frog Prince, parts 1 and 2, available now.
So this author is represented by Kimberly Brower of Park, Klein and Brower, and they have some solid people. They have Janet Ivanovich, who's one of my fucking favorites. They have Nicholas Sparks. They have some solid authors on their site. So, and when I read up kind of on the agent represents a lot of people. So her agent's Kimberly Brower. She represents a lot of best-selling authors, but she also does kind of go for the indie author space. So really, we don't know who this author could be. I mean, it could be an indie author who's trying to go for the mystery part to kind of draw those views in and draw those readers.
Which would happen because, the fact that we're even talking about this shows how effective that type of marketing is.
I mean, the fact that there's like 3 or 4 camps of people all on this subject alone should tell you that this is something that's been on people's minds, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, but I mean, and I gotta give her credit because she's definitely done a good job of hiding her identity. Nobody
Well,
has seen
that,
her
and
face.
I'm going to applaud this person for their marketing. I mean, you and
Mhm.
I just literally got the books out of pure curiosity that was sprouted by people wondering who this person is. That's just some good
Yeah.
marketing right there.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, they've hidden their voice, they've hidden their face. There is no picture of them because, by the way, I did check, no picture. And there's a lot of speculation because it's kind of, Book Talk loves a good mystery. So there's a lot of speculation. There was a funny video. Some guy was talking about, like, oh my God, if this is Stephanie Myers. And I was like, dude, they're pulling up everybody for this right now. So nobody really knows who this is. And I just found it interesting because, to me, this is such a good marketing job
Yeah, it
that
is.
it's, I mean, I would have never thought to, like, of course, I'm also a loudmouth, so, like, my voice is everywhere, but I wouldn't have ever thought to try to hide my identity and then put the book out. And I think they've done it in such a way, they've created a lot of discussion. None of it, I mean, there's, like I said, there's a few parts where there's a few critiques here and there. There is some discussion because there is a discussion on Book Talk that it could be a problematic author who is
If
trying to
it's a
rebrand themselves.
problematic author, we will deal with that problem when
Right.
it
But we
comes.
don't know. And that's the thing. But also, it could easily be a YA author who's trying to do romance because, and some people may not know this. There are a lot of reasons why people take pen names. Sometimes people do it because they just want to, they don't really want maybe any fuss that might come. So they want to have, like, they don't want their family to know about what they're doing. So they have a pen name. Some
Yeah.
people do it because maybe they have a book series under YA that they've written for many years. They're kind of known for that. And they don't want that book series to be attached to anything spicy they might do. So they get a pen name. There's a lot of reasons for pen names, okay?
Yeah.
So it's like, and like me, I have my pen name just because it's the internet and I'm a little bit paranoid when it comes to the internet. That's why I have a pen name.
Yeah, and I
But
have my pen name also because I want to keep people out of my personal business as much as
right?
possible and just want them to look at my books and my crazy
Exactly.
discussions with my friends, nothing more.
Right. So it's kind of like there's a lot of reasons to have a pen name. So I think, honestly, if privacy is the reason, go them. If it's because they
Yeah.
have YA and they're trying to, diversify their field, that's great. If it's, I mean, again, if it's a problematic author, we'll get there when we get there. But right now, we don't know. And I kind of want to just enjoy the mystery. Like, is that so bad?
Yeah. We can enjoy the mystery as long as we have it and have the interest because, these things are fleeting, especially with everything going on in the world. We need a break for some nonsensical mystery that really isn't
Yes.
that important, just fun to look at.
Right. And it's like, and like I said, where is Carmen San Diego? Like, this is just kind of, I'm curious to see who it is. Now, again, if it's somebody like J.K. Rowling, well, again, we'll have that
Oh, no, no,
discussion,
no, no,
won't we?
no. I'm
Have
not
that
doing that again.
discussion.
But Mia, to be honest, I'll be honest with you. I highly doubt it's J.K. Rowling. She
I doubt
doesn't
it.
seem to be able
She
to write anything outside of Hogwarts.
and her hatred for trans people. Yeah, she has a real hard time. Um,
Yeah, no, I'm
no,
just talking about her writing thing because I was looking at some of her writing stuff and people pointed out every book she writes outside of Harry Potter doesn't seem to go anywhere. So I don't think it's her.
yeah, so it's just a thing of, like, it's very interesting that there's all this mystery. And I mean, I kind of, again, whatever reason they're doing it, yes, are authors entitled, if they have a pen name, are they entitled to privacy? Very much so. Obviously, I'm not going to disagree with that. But also, I think us having a little lighthearted mystery, trying to find out who this is not a bad thing. Like,
Yeah,
for some of
unless
the, because
people
they're
go psycho, then it's not fun anymore.
right. I mean, there are some people who are very much like, "Oh my God, it's not your business. Why should you care?" Okay, but first of all, we need something happy in life. Let me have something fucking happy, please and thank
Yeah.
you. But also, it's just this idea of, like, I mean, I haven't really heard of an author doing this, so this is something that's very unexpected. It's very interesting, and I say let's fucking go for it, right? Like, let's have fun with this. Let's do a scavenger hunt. Let's, if we can figure out, because I actually have always talked about, this is a separate discussion, but I've always talked about how you can kind of tell somebody from their writing. So I want to say that, like, if I read this book and I've read something by this author, I'll probably have a guess of who it is, because I think when you write, you put a little bit of yourself in there. So I don't think there's a way to be truly, I don't think there's any way to be truly a mystery, but I will say this author has done a damn good job of hiding their identity.
That is true. Now let's see how good of a job they did writing this book, because I am going to start reading it right after we get off this podcast to see, is this book worth the hype, or is it just some good marketing?
Yeah. I just found it. I do want. I'm curious too, so I may grab it and start reading it and see, because I do. I mean, hey, give me a good enemies to lovers. I'm there for it. Fantasy. I love fantasy. Obviously, I write fantasy. I love reading fantasy. I'm a fantasy girl. I'm solid in that department. So I'm willing. I will say I want to give some credit though to the. I want to give kind of a nod to the dystopian people, because I don't want them to think their voice is not being heard. And I think maybe the marketing tag, like, oh, it's Hunger Games, so it was spice. Maybe they should have chosen something different if they weren't, because to me, a dystopian novel, and I agree with a lot of the dystopian people, a dystopian novel is very much about, it's not just about the MC and female characters in love. It's about the politics. It's about, whether it's a dictatorship or a martial world or whatever the scenario. Dystopian novels are there to kind of teach us by a fictional world what could happen. So also kind of a
obviously
kind of a
society will not listen, but
Right. But I think it's important to say maybe they should have worked on the marketing aspect. Maybe they should have focused more on the mystery part and been like, oh, this is a romantasy, but we're not saying who the author is. Like, don't, the whole Hunger Games tagline, if you're not going to go hard on the politics, then why are you doing this dystopian novel?
Well, I'm going to agree and disagree, because all we once again have are people's reviews. We haven't read it and inspected it ourselves.
That's true.
And until we do, we can't really comment.
I will say we haven't read it. That is very true. But I will say a lot of pretty much all the reviewers, and this was people in dystopian, outward dystopian, they all agreed on one thing, which is this is not a Hunger Game like book.
Yeah.
So
surprise.
So they were very clear that, like, whatever their views on it were, it did not have the Katniss Peeta feel to it. It didn't have some of the, what was it? I think what a lot of them said is, and a lot of them said the same thing, which was in very different ways, but a lot of them said it was politics like. Like, you knew there was a conflict, but you didn't really know completely, like, the in-depth. And dystopian novels are pretty notorious for the fact that they are not just politics light. They have, if there's a dictator, there's a dictator. If there's fascism, there's fascism. If there's water rights or whatever the society, they go hard on it. You get an in-depth look. So I will give that to them.
But what I suspect, because I haven't read the book yet, so I can't really go with this as hardcore. This author probably wrote something that takes place in a dystopian world, but decided to focus more on some kind of romance in the dystopian world with stuff going on around them, maybe how some people are managing living in it, and did not go hard into the government structure and stuff like that. I don't know for sure because I haven't read it yet, but that's probably what they did, which I could get the criticism, because if you're going to do dystopian world, like the everyday person, you do need to actually look at what's going on in the government a little bit more.
That's true. And so the thing is, we'll find out. We're both going to read it. It's on our TBR list. But
we'll read it, and I'll link the review in one of our videos.
Yeah. So I think a lot of, whether you loved it or hate, and there were people who loved it, there were people who had issues with it, whatever you did, the mystery of who this author is, though, is very interesting. And I think it's kind of a good, lighthearted mystery that, again, minus what it could be. I like it. I like a good mystery.
Author will have a problem with them. If this is just somebody who wants everybody out of their business, we will respect that.
Right. And if it's just somebody who's trying to use a smart marketing tactic, fucking kudos to you. You did an awesome job. Like, you solidly you have book talk. There's 50. I could name 50 videos where there's like 15 guesses. People are coming up with Stephanie Myers wasn't even on half my list, and I had to add her today because that was one of the videos that popped up. So, like, I mean, people are having. There's some people who are just having fun with this, and I think that's where I'm at. I'm gonna read the book, but I'm really like, hey, when we find out who this is, it's gonna blow my mind. My mind's gonna be blown.
Probably, especially, more than likely it's gonna be somebody we didn't even guess.
Right. It's probably not even there's a list of people. And by the way, I will say there were some people who were looking at who the agency represents. And so they were trying to guess who it could be based on who they represent. And so I was like, but it could be an indie author who's starting out and wanted to do this. Like, we don't know.
That makes sense, because then it'd be harder to figure out who that person is.
I mean, the only thing we do know, Crystal, is they're not a zombie.
I don't know. The zombies could have figured out how to write.
You know what? You ain't wrong. If it's a zombie, we're gonna have to have a talk about the zombie apocalypse, though.
Yeah.
Again, dun dun dun. Anyways, so I think that wraps it up for the mystery episode.
Yeah, we are on the hunt later when we're done writing our own book.
Where in the world is condescending? Anyways, I'm singing that badly, but hopefully, partly, thank goodness I'm singing that badly because I don't need YouTube coming after me for copyright. Yeah, but YouTube, you know how YouTube is. They're gonna come for me for the copyright, so I might as well just say singing it badly.
Dox this video. We need the money,
right? Right. So anyways, this is part 1. This is our little mystery episode. Give us a few, and then our next part 2 is going to be very interesting. We're gonna it's a little bit of a serious discussion. It's
semi-serious,
a little lighthearted, and it's a little chat. I want to say a little